We'll continue to monitor Governor Cuomo's briefing in New York. He's been doing this daily. Let's bring back Stephanie Grisham, the White House press secretary. You just heard Andrew Cuomo say that the federal government should nationalize the acquisition of medical supplies because the states can't do it on their own. The states are competing among themselves for masks and so forth. Is that something that could be under consideration?
Well, I mean, we'll see what happens. The task force is meeting every day, multiple times a day. I've got to tell you, and I want to tell the public, that this administration has been working around the clock with the leadership of the vice president and the president, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. People are not stopping. So they're doing everything they can to help keep the country safe and healthy. That is the president's priority. So they've been working on that, and we'll see what happens. We'll see what next steps have to be taken.
Before we interrupted for Governor Cuomo, you were about to make a point about the press focusing on various things the president had to say in January, February, and much of March, which they say didn't match the coming crisis, even though there weren't that many cases in the U.S. You want to pick up that point?
Yeah, I would just want to say that the president didn't have a crystal ball there, and he has acted appropriately. He has acted appropriately from the beginning. As I said, he started in January and declared a public health emergency. So he started back in January working towards how important this virus has become for our country. And he has only ramped up those efforts. Again, the task force is meeting every single day. They're briefing the public every single day, including the president.
Right.
All their focus on is to make sure that the American people are getting the information. I don't think it's appropriate right now for the press to be going backwards. There's no reason to go backwards and figure out TikToks of what happened when. We've got a crisis on our hands. We've got a coronavirus in this country, and the press they've got a real opportunity, if you ask me, to also spread great information to this public and give information that our task force is trying to get out there.
Right. Well, journalists would say that looking at the record is part of our scrutiny, but let's get to specifics here. So the president the other day really got into it with NBC's White House correspondent, Peter Alexander. As you know, he had asked a question about, the president was talking about a couple of malaria drugs. He doesn't know whether they would be effective against coronavirus, but was willing to support further research. He said, are you giving false hope to people over these drugs? And then Alexander said that, what do you have to say to millions of scared Americans? The president said Peter Alexander had asked a nasty question and he was a terrible reporter. What was nasty about those questions?
Well, I want to point out before I answer that question, the president just the day before, I believe it was, or the day before to that, had said that he felt that the media coverage was actually pretty fair. So he has given credit where it's due. In that instance, the fact that a reporter is asking if he's giving false hope to the American people, I think that was inappropriate. He is the commander-in-chief. He is at the helm of this country, and it is his job as president to try and comfort this country and make sure that they know that we're working towards options that will help people. It is his job to show not only leadership, but try to calm the American people. So to come after him and say he's giving false hope, I think was wildly inappropriate, and I believe that's how he reacted the way he did.
Well, it was a question. Now, CNN's John King reacted by calling the president's response to Peter Alexander BS. He used the actual word on the air. And MSNBC's Rachel Maddow said cable news shouldn't even carry these virus briefings live because she says the president is spreading misinformation. Your response?
Well, the irony there about now they shouldn't have briefings is not lost on me, certainly. But it doesn't surprise me that either of those networks or that cable channel would attack him. And that's not the point. Right now, they need to set aside their bias against this president, and they need to do what this White House is doing and show leadership and try to get information to the American public. That is your job as journalists.
At another briefing, the president responded to a question from One America News about whether some of the media were supposedly siding with Chinese Communist Party propaganda by ripping into the New York Times, the Washington Post, the Wall Street Journal, and saying they are siding with China. What did he mean?
There have been many outlets that have printed that the Chinese government is doing all that they can and that they are showing leadership towards this virus, and that's not the case. There's also, you know, there have been reporters who have jumped to calling it the Chinese virus racist. He was talking about that. Again, this is media outlets ripping into the president because they can. This is why earlier he called it a hoax. He didn't call the virus a hoax. He called the way the Democrats and the media are treating it as just another hoax in that they're trying to take him down. This president is focused on the American people. So should the media, period.
Well, I would just point out that those three papers, among many others, have reported about the lies and the cover-up and the censorship and suppression of China in the early outbreak there, and that Beijing has booted out the reporters from the New York Times, Washington Post, and the Wall Street Journal. But let me move on, because with the severe stock market losses, much of the country shut down, the president